Hello, my name is Rachel, and I love baking. So, oh my gosh, you guys, it's Christmas Eve. I got COVID. I got COVID probably at my event last weekend, and I mentioned, I think, in a couple of videos at this past week that I wasn't feeling great. Well, it turns out it was COVID. And it was mild. I was very lucky. It was very mild. I felt my worst Wednesday through Friday. I'm already feeling pretty much better. But the only reason I tested, because it was so mild, the only reason I tested was because I was supposed to go home today to my parents to have family Christmas, and I didn't want to bring COVID. And I was like, it's probably not, but let me be sure. And it was. So I'm isolating. So I'm home all alone today and tomorrow. Bryant has his son, and he's with his family for the holiday. And obviously I don't want to go go anywhere because I don't want to chance spreading Christmas COVID joy. But it's kind of ironic because if you guys remember in my chatty get ready with me, I did say I kind of missed lockdown. So it looks like for Christmas I got my own mini lockdown. Yay. Careful what you wish for. All right, so what we're doing today, I've broken out my bread maker. I've had this bread maker. It's by Oster. I've had it for a very long time. A friend gave it to me before I even moved here to Richmond. But I only tried it here at Richmond twice. Once, like soon after I moved here, but it trips my kitchen circuits. It just takes too much power for the kitchen outlets. So I just recently pulled it back out, and I tried again. It tripped it again, but then I realized, I can kind of see the head of it over here, like down there. There's a plug over there. You can see the plug in the top of the bread maker. That can handle the voltage. So I just have to put it on the floor. So yay, bread. And the bread that we are making today, it's called Springtime Favorite Bread, and it is from the Oster bread maker book. But this is very similar to a bread that my father makes. It's mostly an Easter bread, but he does also make it at Christmas. And it's a raisin bread with a thin icing on top. And this tastes very reminiscent of that. And Christmas morning, we would always wake up, and not always, but quite often, that's what we would eat for breakfast, was this delicious iced raisin bread. So I thought, since I'm alone, I can still have that tomorrow morning by making it in the bread maker, because this recipe that I have for the bread maker produces a very similar tasting bread. Now, I do make a substitution in that I don't use raisins, because this does call for raisins. I prefer cranberries in mine, but it's kind of the same thing. You could probably do dried cherries too, or maybe even a mix of dried berries would probably be really tasty. But I've already portioned out my ingredients so we can make this go faster. But I'm going to, if you can see the recipe here. And this is for a bread maker. So I don't think this would necessarily work outside of a bread maker because I don't know what the steps would be as far as kneading and letting rise and all that, because the bread maker does all that for you. But I will try to remember to take a picture of this and put it at the end of the video so you guys can always pause it and read it if you have a bread maker and you wanted this recipe. So let me just get started. It does call for a cup of water, and you're supposed to use warm water. And I did just boil water a little while ago. It was like a while ago. So the water should still be warm, but not, because you don't want it too hot, because that probably kills the yeast, and you don't want it too cold, because then I guess it doesn't help the yeast grow. But I forgot to grab my 1 cup measuring cup. That's the one thing I did not gather here. So I'll be right back. I got my pot. I got my 1 cup measuring cup, and I'm just going to start with 1 cup water. And if you're familiar with the bread maker, it's got the little paddle in the bottom, and that's how it stirs everything up. That might have been a lot of steam. That might have still been a little bit too warm. We'll see if that'll cool down as I add other liquids. Because also, I don't want to accidentally cook my egg, because I got to put an egg in here. So yeah, let me give that a second to cool down. But I can add, supposed to add a 1/4 cup butter or margarine. Oh, I forgot to soften up the butter or margarine. This is pretty much fresh out of the fridge, so it's probably going to be too hard for it to, mix. So I'm going to microwave this real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, so I might have over microwaved my butter. It's just pure liquid right now. And then I think it's supposed to only just be softened, but I've done it this way before anyway, because I always make this mistake and it always works fine. So let me dump that in. Like, realize you can't even really see me filling this thing, can you? Let me rearrange my camera for a second. Okay, that's better. You can now see what I'm actually doing. All right, so that was the butter. We need 1 large egg. I just realized the butter is really warm too. Hopefully, honey, this is warm enough to cook our egg. I'm going to add the extracts next, so maybe they'll cool it down a little. Let's see here. It doesn't. It feels like it's already cooled down a bit though. So, but it's 1½ teaspoons of vanilla extract. And I have this random vanilla extract that I have no idea where it came from. I think maybe I got it at like TJ Maxx or something weird like that. So 1, and I'm just going to eyeball 1/2, which is going to be closer to 2 because can't go wrong with vanilla, right? And then 1¼ teaspoons of almond extract. Got that right here. Now, to be fair, this almond extract is probably from the last time I made this bread, which has been a very long time. Because, as I just discussed, I haven't really used this bread maker in like 6 years. So, I mean, let's see, what is the Best Buy? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of embarrassed to even tell you what the Best Buy on this is. It smells fine. You know, it's just extract, which is, what is that, just alcohol and flavoring. So, yeah, I'll dump that in there. Doesn't matter. So it doesn't smell off or anything. Usually with like spices and stuff, it's not that they go bad, it's that they just lose potency and flavor. But yeah, this expired in 2016, which is the year I moved here to Richmond. Which means it's been even longer since I made the bread because it would have been before then. Because I would have bought this and it probably had a couple years to go on it when I bought it. Wow, all right. I did like go through and clean out and throw away so many old spices. It's been a couple years ago now, so now my replacement spices are probably getting to the point where I need to throw them away as well. But it was a lot of stuff like this. And it had been like 5 years past its Best Buy date. I'm a mess. But anyway, we're going to move on. We're probably going to add that egg. Oh yeah, and I should have read you the directions here. When you're making bread in the bread maker, first you measure and add all of your liquid ingredients to the bread pan. And then you measure and add all of your dry ingredients, except the yeast, to the bread pan. Hopefully I don't get any shell in here. I kind of shattered a little. Okay. Good news, it does not appear to be cooking. All right, now we move on because that's all of the water, butter, egg, vanilla, almond. Yep, that's all of the wet ingredients. So now we're going to start the dry ingredients. Now, I always sift my flour, sugar, and salt together. That's not a requirement. You can just dump it all in here. I just like to do that. It's just a habit that I've had with my baking for, I don't know, probably since I started baking when I was very little because my parents were very healthy. So the only way I was going to get a sweet treat is if I learned to make sweet treats. So I did learn very early to make sweet treats on my own. So this calls for 3 3/4 cups of bread flour. Now this is just regular flour because because I'm sick, I couldn't leave the house to go get ingredients, so I had to do a Instacart order, and I didn't see bread flour on the list, so I just did regular baking flour. So that's what we're going with. If I can get all this in here without making a huge, and I'm already making a huge mess, aren't I? Oh no, I'm gonna have to grab a cup. I used is the 1 cup I used to measure all that out is dirty, so I'm just using this, like whatever the cup this is, like 1/2, 3/4, whatever. So we'll just use this to transfer it all. Because normally, you know, I'm just transferring it straight from the bag to this, but I thought, oh, I'll just measure out my ingredients ahead of time. That'll make things so much easier. Okay, that's pretty much full there. I am going to right now add, this is the salt And it does call for 1 teaspoon of salt. And then I'm going to sift this a little bit. These are my favorite type of sifters, these antique ones. I tried one of those newer ones that has like the squeezy handle. I could not deal with that. It just did not function well at all, in my opinion. I'm sure they have better modern sifters out there, but I do love my little antique sifter. It was given to me by my mother. She also gave me the 1950s Betty Crocker cookbook, which is like one of my favorite cookbooks for especially baking. They have a lot of good cookie and cake recipes. So keep going. Oh, I need to put more in here. Here I'm going to dump the sugar in now. This is a half a cup of sugar, and that does have some clumps in it. And the clumps are actually why I do this sifting thing, is so that I don't get like concentrated clumps in the final product. Because especially like someone like me who doesn't use the thing super often, the flour is fresh though. So I did have old flour in there that I threw away because I was like, nope, that's not worth the risk. I don't think it was quite as old as the almond extract, but it was old. So I at least did move on to better flour. My sugar might be a couple years old though. But I'm just a mess, guys. I buy things and then I'm like, oh, it can't be that old. I just bought it last week. And then I look at the date and it was years ago. So let me keep going with the dry ingredients. This also calls for dry milk, but I don't sift the dry milk. I feel like the dry milk gets a little sticky. Yeah, as just moisture from the air enters it. There's a couple of big clumps of sugar in here. Woohoo! Okay, there we go. We got all of our dry ingredients. You do have to be careful because, again, like they said, you don't want the yeast to touch the liquids. So what you do, I'm going to add the dry milk now. I'm just going to dump all that on top. And that was 3 tablespoons of dry milk. And then what you do is, let's see here, I add the cranberries now too. And it calls for 3/4 cups of raisins. But like I said, I prefer the dried cranberries. And it did not open. So we'll slice that open. And then we're going to do, this is a 1/4 cup, so we're just going to do roughly 3 cups of these of cranberries. And you don't got to be super exact. A few extra, a few, or some fewer isn't going to hurt anything. Okay, just a couple more. Just a couple more there. Okay, I feel like that's enough. Maybe just a couple more. We'll just sprinkle on a few more, because why not? I'm the only one who's eating this. It can be however. Okay. Now what you do is in the top of the dry ingredient, I'm going to stop mixing anything. You can see there how everything is. You form a little well in just the top of the dry ingredients. Make sure you don't get down to the liquids though, but just form a little well. And then in that well, you want to add your yeast. And it calls for 1.5 teaspoons. No, that's something else that I forgot to add. Dang it. I also forgot to add my orange peel. This is probably as old as the almond stuff, to be honest, but again, smells fine. Hopefully I don't get taken out by old orange peel. I'm not worried about the almond extract, because like I said, that's just like alcohol and flavoring. I don't really think that necessarily goes bad. It just may not taste as good, but doesn't get won't poison you. I'm not so sure about the orange peel. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's fine. But this takes 1.5 teaspoons of orange peel, so. I do have, well actually, no, I do have a couple left. I do have a couple of mandarins over there that I probably could have just peeled, but get some fresh peel. You know what, that might actually be better. Hold on. For the other 1/2 teaspoon or whatever. Okay, so here is my one little mandarin. And I only need another 1/2 teaspoon because I did use the full teaspoon of that, but let's just see what we can do here. Smells good. I feel like the fresh orange peel will add a little extra something to it because it smells really good. I should have thought of this a moment ago. I thought I'd eaten them all, but I still had 2 sitting over there. Again, I'm probably going over the half a teaspoon thing, but, or maybe not. It's hard to tell with orange peel. Oh, there's a whole bunch there. If I scrape all that off, I think we'll be good. Oh yeah, that's that's better. I'll put just a little more on there because why not? Make up for the probably at this point flavorless dried peel I put in there, right? All right. Okay. Good enough, good enough. All right, now let me pull the orange peel out of my well. Where I'm about to put the yeast. So I've got the little packet of yeast. This calls for, oh, that was 1½ teaspoons of orange peel. I probably mentioned that already. But the yeast, where does it say the yeast? Dry milk, active yeast. 2 teaspoons of active dry yeast. And I feel like the last time I measured one of these packets, it was 2 teaspoons. By the way, my yeast has also slightly expired, but only by a couple months. It expired this year, a couple months ago. And I did use this, because like I said, I did use this a second time last week, and it worked fine. It worked fine, even though it was a couple months overdue. But I should have ordered, because yeast isn't expensive, and I should have just ordered a fresh pack of yeast, but I just was like, I have yeast in the fridge, it'll be fine, when I was doing my Instacart order. But yeah, I'm pretty sure this is 2 teaspoons. There's 1. Yep. Yeah, one of these packets is the 2 teaspoons, so perfect. All right. So that is all of the ingredients. And what we do next is we take this thing, our bread pan here, and we take it over to our bread maker. So let me, as I turn in circles, let me change our camera angle a little so you guys can see me doing that. Okay guys, I am holding the camera right now. And I'll plug this in, lift this up a little bit. You can see what the inside of the bread maker looks like. And we grab the bread pan, which we just snap into place, one-handed. But hey, we can do that one-handed. All right, and then settings. So what we're going to do is we're going to close the lid, and then we select sweet setting. So you can see the settings right there. We move until we hit sweet. And then we press the crust color, and it says choose light, medium, or dark crust. Okay, so that's dark, that's light, and I want medium. So we're doing a medium crust. And then, as you can see, it's going to take almost 3 hours. So we just hit start. And then the bread maker starts working its magic. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now I just wait for 3 hours. I will check on it in about 10 minutes to make sure there was enough liquid in there. Sometimes they don't have you put enough liquid in there and you just get a bunch of dry flour out on the edge that can't get mixed in. So sometimes I'll go help it with a spatula and a little bit more water to make sure that, you know, it gets the right bread consistency. But you have to be careful because it's bread, so you don't want it too moist, right? But yeah, there have been times where the liquids that they called for just was nowhere near enough liquid. But hopefully this is. And then I will be back once this is done Actually, no, I'm going to be back sooner because I have to make the icing to put on top. So we're going to do that here in a minute, but I got to prep for that. So I'll see you guys in a minute for us to make the icing. And then later, we'll be able to pull out the bread. But that's like, again, 3 hours for me, no time for you. Be right back. So I don't really remember how to make the icing glaze that my father always made and put on the ones that, you know, from home that I'm used to. But I feel like this recipe, excuse me, I didn't cough a lot during this session of COVID, not like the first time I had COVID. There's been some coughing fits. There were more sneezing fits, oddly enough, than coughing fits. But let me continue. Again, doesn't matter if I cough on things. It's just me. I'm isolated. I'm the only one who'll be eating this. But we're doing a powdered sugar glaze that is in this same recipe book that I got the bread recipe from. And this seems like it's going to make something very similar to what my father would always make. So it calls for 1 cup sifted powdered sugar. And the powdered sugar is new. This is part of my Instacart order. So it's nice and fresh and not clumped up at all. And we're going to do a cup of this. I did throw away the orange peel. I looked at the Best By date. 2014. Yeah, even older than the almond extract. And it's like, didn't smell bad. It just kind of didn't smell of much of anything anymore. So I'm sure it was completely pointless. I'm glad I had that fresh one to add to the bread. I hope the what little bit of the dried I did add doesn't detract it anyway. I feel like it just won't do anything, which is ideal, I guess. But, okay, so yeah, we're going to add my 1 cup of nice fresh powdered sugar. A little more in a cup. It'll be fine. I can always add more liquids to compensate as needed. Because again, I'm just making a simple icing glaze. They say that this glaze is for coffee cakes and sweet rolls. So. And then 2 tablespoons of water or milk. And I don't have milk except for the dry milk. So I'm just going to do, oh, wait a minute. It's half and half. What if I do 1 tablespoon of half and half and 1 tablespoon of water? So I feel like it just might make it taste better if it has actual milk in it. I don't know. Okay, so we're going to do 1 tablespoon of the half and half, and then 1 tablespoon of water to split the difference. Watered down half and half is milk, right? I'm sure it'll be fine. Sometimes you just want to improvise. And then, yeah, I just feel like it'll add a little more richness to it. And then I have my 1 teaspoon of butter softened, although I, once again, just obliterated it in the microwave, so it's liquid. But it'll be fine. That's kind of my motto. It'll be fine. And then a half a teaspoon of vanilla. Vanilla. And then I'm going to add some more orange peel, I think. So let me get that set up again. So I got my little grater back and my second, because I did have 2 of these left, and I used up pretty much the whole peel from the other one. Oops. So I guess this was from the dollar store a long time ago, so the fact that I just got this much use out of it, I guess, is pretty amazing. But yeah, let's go try some more. Okay. Guess I'll be tossing this out after this as well. Oh my goodness. There's like a piece of plastic on the other side of the floor. What a mess. I think I have another one, something similar to this, somewhere in the drawer. So, I'll be okay the next time I have to do something like this. Okay, that should be enough. That should be enough orange peel. Okay. Side, and then you just mix it all. I mean, I should probably be using the electric mixer. I don't know if that really matters. Probably not. I was making a nice... This is working just fine. I'm sure people did this well before electric mixers, just using their whisk. Although my whisk feels like it wants to break too. All right. I think that's it, really. Just a nice sugary glaze that I can put on top of my bread when it's done and cooled, of course. Let me just give it a try. Oh, that's good. The orange peel was a good idea. That's going to be a really nice one here. Okay, guys. We'll be back when the bread is ready. Okay, so everything is finally done. It's been probably about 4 hours. 3 hours for the cycle, and then I let it cool down a bit. Actually, let's say 3.5 hours. I was supposed to let it cool for an hour, but I really want some. It smells so good. So, the pan's still pretty warm. But hopefully, oh, a little cat hair, imagine that. But let's see if I can dump this out, get this out. This can always be a challenge sometimes. Ooh, it did a really good job. And it left the thing inside too. Sometimes the little paddle gets stuck in the bottom of my bread. That is the one thing about bread machines though, you're always going to have a little hole in the bottom of your bread. And it looks like it's a bit dark on the sides, but pretty light on the top. It did crack. I did Google why it would crack in the bread machine, and it suggested that there wasn't enough moisture, enough liquid in my mix. So I did check on it because I mentioned earlier that can be a problem, and I'll add extra, but it looked fine. So I didn't add any extra because, of course, I don't want it to be too wet. But apparently it would have benefited from just a little bit more. But, I mean, that's not a big deal. And then here is our icing. I had it refrigerated, but I did bring it out of the refrigerator once I started letting this cool, and then I stirred it up so it's nice and creamy. And this is probably still too warm to be putting icing on, but that means it's just going to drizzle down the side nicely. So I'm just going to slather it on here. I'm reserving just a little bit of extra icing so I can like dip it in the icing when I have my piece here shortly. See here. So here is our finished loaf. Of course, as the icing cools, it'll form like a somewhat sticky crust. Not super sticky, but I think sometimes it can even form like a solid icing crust on top. I'm not sure. Like, I feel like we always just stored it out because we ate it within a day or two. But I'm not sure, like, storage, because the icing does have milk and butter in it, so I'm not sure if they would go off, how long it would take for them to, go bad. Got my bread knife because we're going to do a little taste test. I didn't think about this. I don't know where to grab it because there's icing everywhere. This is making slicing challenging. Normally with a loaf of bread, you just grab it right here on the top. Alright, so let's see what our inside looks like. So this is the inside of the bread. I honestly don't know a lot about bread baking, so I don't know if that's a good internal structure for my bread or not. Icing is dripping down. The icing is so good. But I'm just going to have a bite. Yep. So reminiscent of the one that my father makes. So tomorrow for Christmas morning, even though just me and the cats, getting that asked for isolation. Yeah, you gotta be careful what you wish into the world, huh? I will get to have my delicious iced fruit bread for breakfast, so I'm happy and excited about that. But you guys aren't going to see this until a couple of days after Christmas. But as I said, this is Christmas Eve for me, so this is me trying to get a little bit of Christmas spirit going, even though COVID and alone, and I just don't like Christmas in general normally anyway. Bah humbug. But it's been, as I've discussed in previous videos, it's been a year. It's been a year. There's been a lot of good this past year. I've had a lot of fun, a lot of amazing things, and there's been some tragedy. There's, loss of a good friend, loss of my cat, my whole move thing being pushed off, just due to, that's just the way things like that go, renovations and stuff. And so just having to figure out the whole thing to get me until spring when I'll be able to list the house to sell, because winter is not a good time for selling. But yeah, it's been a year. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday. Whether or not you celebrate, I hope you still had a good day and did something nice with family and friends, or your pets, like I'm going to be doing. And if you enjoyed this little baking with me video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you didn't enjoy it, you wouldn't have made it this far, but you can still give me a thumbs down. And tell me all about it in the comments below. And please subscribe to the channel. And I hope everyone is just staying happy, healthy, and safe in this incredibly crazy world we're living in. And I will talk to you all soon. I feel like I said happy really weird there. Bye, guys.